like I'm your husband. If my wife tells me no again to some intimacy, I'm going to cheat tonight. I do not care. I do not care anymore. It's been 2 weeks. I've been asking my wife, can I please have some? And she's like, no, 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 I don't want to do it tonight. I don't know what to do. Tonight, if I ask her one more time tonight, I swear to God, I'm cheating tonight. I don't care. I'm going to cheat on my wife. Yes, I said it on TikTok. I'm going to cheat. Listen, I'm her husband. She's supposed to give me some, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is with her lately. She just does not want to give me some.
2 weeks, that's a long
I'm a man.
time.
Like, I'm your husband. You're supposed to give me some. It's been 2 weeks. Am I tripping?
No.
And plus, her sister has been looking at me a little funny. I think if her sister's with it, I'm going to do it. I swear to God, her sister is fine too. Listen, whatever. I might just go ahead and cheat tonight. I don't care, bro.
I think that's a little bit unfair. If you know that that's something that, because guys, that's what they want, right? But to hold out for 2 weeks.
If my wife tells me no again.
All right, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, honor, and power that's due to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles at Great Millstone, those who roll well on I learned this truth from. And salutation to the brothers stiffly pushing this one truth and all sincerity and diligence, risking both your lives and freedoms to do so. All right, shalom to the rest of the elect as we all await the second exodus coming quickly by the hands of Lord Yahweh Shah. This your brother Kakabar. All right, and you see this this video I just played for you, where his this guy's wife, she pretty much ain't putting out, for whatever reason. She could, be seeing some other nigga, or, I was reading the comments, she could have caught something and, trying to wait till it passes over, which we don't know. Okay. But ultimately, as far as, the wife not putting out, when you have a husband, that's off, man. Really that's off, and vice versa too. Unless you both agree, you consented, which I'm gonna go into the scriptures, but really unless you consented to, take some time or whatever for whatever reason, or, say she was on her period, which a lot of motherfuckers, still be hitting, on the period, but those are valid reasons, to not put out, if you will, if she, one of the parties may be going through something and, y'all both agree, like whatever, woo woo woo. But, especially with no excuse, no reasons, I'm not about to sit here and beg you for the box, especially if you're my woman, man, But hey, let's go through these scriptures because then, he ultimately mentioned, if she don't put out, if he got to ask her the third time or whatever he said again, and she don't put out, he gonna cheat, which this is another reason why men are designed and wired to have multiple women. This is why men are designed to have multiple women, man. No matter how you feel about it, all right, and it's not cheating. You know what I'm saying? According to scriptures, a man can have multiple women, and there's nothing wrong with that in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. Okay, matter of fact, we'll go into the account with King David, and that's just one of many. All right. But we'll go into the account of King David, which we know he had multiple wives and multiple concubines, man. I mean, hell, even, when you deal with the Israelites, how do you think the 12 tribes of Israel came to be? Okay, the 12 tribes of Israel came to be from Jacob, having multiple wives, man, and concubines. He had multiple wives and concubines, man, and that's where the nation, came from. See, so, and that's just two of many different scenarios, but showing you that men are designed to have multiple women, especially, like I said, again, she could legit, be on her period. And I'm not saying that's the case in this sense because periods don't last 2 weeks. they don't last that long. Okay. To my knowledge, and just, dealing with these chicks, it don't last that long, man, okay. But ultimately, this is why man is wired to have multiple women because shit, one shorty may be on her period, go deal with the other one, man, and all right. But This is well, I'm gonna start here. This is 2 Samuel 12:8. Now, this was when King David committed one of his trespasses, which was what? Adultery. You know, now this would be considered cheating. You know, what King David had done. All right, this is what you people call quote unquote cheating. Really, scriptures refer to as adultery. You know, now this is the account where David committed adultery, man, is when he slept with Uriah the Hittite's wife, Bathsheba. Okay, that is when he committed adultery and went off, man. Well, when you read all, you know, before that, he had multiple wives and concubines, man. You know, and never once was that a trespass against the Heavenly Father. But when he slept with another man's wife, that's where he went wrong. See, so when you deal with this man here, you know, in this video, or, you know, brothers and, you know, just men in general, you know, sleeping with unmarried women is not going off. You know what I'm saying? The whole reason why they had brothels, you know, and whatnot, you know, I mean, you had read the account where Samson, you know, pretty much went in, you know, to the you know, the prostitute, you know. See, there's nothing wrong with that, man. Okay, it's a problem when it's a married woman, okay, that you are laying with. See, that's adultery for a man. Now, for a woman, you know, any land with any man outside of your husband or the man you're dealing with, because we know how it is in this day and age. You know, woman will be in a situation or a boyfriend, and, you know, might not have to necessarily the title as a marriage, you know, but stepping out on that man in any other way is adultery. It's cheating. You know, it don't matter if he's single. You know, if you got a man at home, you know, and really, even if you don't, you know, you're supposed to be with one man. All right. And that first man you lay with really is your husband. You know, as we know, we're in Babylon. So this place is everything's polluted, you know. But this is the reason why they, you know, these women try to use the birth control and Planned Parenthood, because, yeah, you sleeping around, man. And that's not, men and women ain't designed the same. Which I'm not going to fully go into that, but that's the reason why y'all, you know, every man you lay with, you know, when he nut inside of you, that man's spirit stays on you, man. And they've did studies on it. Yes, that's what happens, man. You know, you sit there, all these different bodies on you, and you know, you start shaping up to be having multiple personalities, man. You know, but yeah, this is the difference, man. So this was the account, you know, where King David actually committed adultery, you know. And when you go to 2 Samuel 12:8, it says, now this is when Nathan the prophet was, you know, pretty much breaking it down to him. Verse 8, it says, I gave you your master's house and his wives and the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. And if that had not been enough, I would have given you much, much more, you know, because you had concubines, you know, that were left, you know, and whatnot, and they were, you know, given on King David, man, you know. But it says, I gave you your master's house and his wives and the kingdom of Israel and Judah, and if that had not been enough, I would have given you much, much more. Right. So he had multiple wives and concubines, and the Most High said, I could have gave you more. Okay. The Most High said, I could have gave you more, man. Much, much more. See. Okay. So that's not a sin. You know, a man having multiple women he's dealing with is completely a right thing in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, man. You know, here he is telling King David he would have gave him much, much more. The Most High just didn't want him to sleep around with another man's wife. You know, you also had the accounts of King Solomon, man. You know, scriptures say he has 700 wives and 300 concubines. You know, see, I mean, there's numerous accounts of men having multiple women they've dealt with in the scriptures, and never once was that a trespass. All right, what was King Solomon's trespass? Was following after the idols of those women. You know, you got to think, if you're dealing with that many women, these women have, you know, they have spirits on them too. You know, one bitch may be agnostic, you know, one bitch may be a Buddha or Buddhist, you know, one may be a Christian, You know, after some time, hey, King Solomon started erecting idols to their gods, man. That was his trespass, not just because he was dropping dick in, X amount of women, man. And going back into this scenario here, this woman doesn't have that whole my body, my choice. You got a whole man you're supposed to put out. Like I said, save, she's on her period or, they consent to not, for whatever reason or whatnot. And, because people, we go through things, you know what I'm saying? But really, even when you go through shit, hey, that's, one of the best remedies is sex. Just being honest, that's what happened with, the account with, I want to say Isaac and Rebecca, after the death of his mother, hey, that was, that was what comforted him was going into Rebecca, Matter of fact, let me see if I can grab that account real quick. Give me 1 second. Give me one moment. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay, yeah. Salakia. Genesis 24, 64 through 67. Let's click on that. Which also shows you marriage is sex. All right. Okay, yeah. And this is let me go to the right version. Genesis 24, verse 64. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself, which shows she was a shamefaced, man, which is how you women are supposed to be. She was shamefaced. She covered herself. She was in order. Verse 66, and the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah. And he lay with her, and she became his wife. See? So that's there you have it. He took her, he slept with her, he piped her down, and she became his wife. It didn't say they had a whole ceremony and did this and that. Not to say that they're we have particular, a ceremonial aspect, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I believe there's, certain accounts in Tobit too. But as far as getting a wedding ring, that comes from pagan customs, man. That wedding ring and the white dress and all of that, man, that doesn't consummate a marriage. So a lot of you people who are saying, oh, I don't want to have sex before marriage. Well, sex is marriage, man. And a lot of you people that say that shit, you already been outside like that, man. So anyways, it says, and Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. But that was the point I was trying to make. That's what comforted him after his mother's death was sex, man. We all know that heals, that, not gonna say heals, but that solves a lot of issues, man.
If my
We know that solves a lot of issues, man. And that's why it's better to be with a someone, for you women that have a husband, that man you dealing with, than to just be out here burning, And in this case, like I said, we don't know 100%, you know what I'm saying? But this woman not putting out, hey, that's off, man. Let's grab this. This is 1 Corinthians 7, And from the top it says, now concerning things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Now this is Apostle Paul going into marriage. And we know that that's the route he went. Okay. He wasn't saying that you can't touch a woman, but sometimes women, they can be headaches dealing with them like that, man. But nonetheless, it says verse 2, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Verse 3, okay, and that's why it says to avoid fornication, because if you don't have a man or woman, or so like if you don't have a man as a woman, you're gonna be out here committing adultery, sleeping around, you see lesbianism, you're gonna be carpet munching, all types of shit, man. Illicit sexual intercourse, that's why you need a husband, that you don't be burning and do these acts, It says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife hath not power over her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband hath not power over his own body, but the wife. It says, defraud ye not the one the other, except it be with consent for a time. See, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency, which is lack of self-control and whatnot. But the point is that, hey, when you get into that relationship, man, you don't have power over your own body, in the sense that if that woman, she needs some dick, you got to give it to her. If that man, he want that box, you got to put out, man. I'm not about to sit here and beg you for it. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you paying bills and whatnot, and we trying to make this shit work. I'm not about to beg you for that, man. I can go out here and find a harlot, if you will. I don't have to beg her for that box, man. And a lot of you women wonder why your man step out on you, which again is not cheating, unless he sleep with a woman that got a ring on her finger. She's with a man, even without a ring, she just got a man, she dealing with. Then yeah, that's going off. But if not, then hey, man, shit, he ain't doing nothing wrong, in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, man. Despite your feelings on it, he's not doing nothing wrong. Y'all wonder why men want to step out, because what the fuck is you going 2 weeks and I ain't got the box and I got a whole woman at home, man? No, man, that's off. And then here the bitches come, my body, my choice, and blah, blah. Nah, man. Why are you in a relationship in the first place? Because these be the same women. I'm not saying her in particular, but these be the same hoes that, you outside and then you putting out, now that you back on the streets and you back outside, you a whole different person now. Now you putting out, you know what I'm saying? You can't keep the rod out of you, man. But when you got a man's at home, you'll go 2-3 weeks without putting out. That's going off, man. That's going the hell off, man. And this woman, this woman who's doing the reaction, she knows that, she's agreeing with the man here. She's like, yeah, that ain't right. That shit is off as hell, man. So it makes you wonder, well, what is the wife doing? We can't say for sure, but like I said, she likely ain't on her period. It don't last 2 whole weeks, and unless they agree to not lay with each other for whatever reason, which clearly that's not the case, because this man is he clearly ready to sleep with his woman, so that's clearly not the case. And it don't sound like the wife is being open and whatnot about as to why. Yeah, don't beg though, man. That shit is insane, man. He said that's not a wife, it's a friend with no benefits. Yeah, it's not even just a friend. That's a liability you got to take care of, and you ain't getting nothing in return, man. That's the reason why a lot of men step out, and leave these relationships, man. Because hey, we got to get our rocks off, man. You know what I'm saying? Women or men, we produce X amount of testosterone and RC replenishes, you know, daily. I think it replenishes, a lot quicker than that. I don't know the exact number, but yeah, man, you know, you ain't supposed to just be out here just not putting out for whatever reason just because you don't feel like it, Now, like, again, shit happens, okay? Shit happens, man. But even that's why I grabbed the account with Isaac and Rebecca, after Sarah's death, after his mother's death, that's what brought him comfort was going into to Rebecca, man. So even if you're going through like hard shits or whatever, man, what's the main thing people look to? Maybe some alcohol or, I don't want to say drugs, but so, a lot of people turn to drugs, but alcohol or things to comfort them. Well, shit, man, one of the best things to comfort your ass is, sex. That's just being real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. But as far as all that begging and shit, they, at this point, he's better off just, going and finding a single woman, and laying with her. Now he mentioned, the sister, which, is, really, we did have the account with Rachel and Leah, but really that was, there was, what's the word I'm looking for? Envy because of that, because, Jacob loved, Rachel more. So really you're not, to do that because, now if the wife had died, and then he wanted to get with the sister, then yeah, but, scripturally, really lawfully, really don't want to deal with sisters, man. You know what I'm saying? Cause that jealousy is going to creep in, that envy is going to creep in, and it's going to lead to problems, but, but other than that, this man wanted to go and find a woman, hey, then he's not cheating, as y'all like to call it. All right. He's just exercising his rights. It is another thing, man. I'm gonna go ahead and close out, but honestly, man, who gives a shit about how you feel about it? Because if the Heavenly Father, doesn't mind it, he told King David he would have gave him much, much more. And the whole context of that was women, really, because he slept with another man's wife. So the Most High was like, look, man, I gave you wives and concubines. I could have gave you much, much more, So if that's not going off in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, then what in the hell do you people's emotional sentiment have to do with anything, man? It doesn't, You just don't like that there's a double standard, and there's double standard throughout life, man. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is, man. Men and women, all right, are not equal. Women's empowerment and liberation, all right, and feminism did not change the Most High's mind about men and women being equal. Right? You know what I'm saying? But hey, that's pretty much the point on that, man. She is really going off. You know what I'm saying? Not putting out in it. If I had a chick I was dealing with, you know what I'm saying, and she wasn't putting out, yeah, I would start thinking shit too, man. And I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck is this bitch doing, man? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not about to sit there and beg her. I'm not about to do none of that, man. I'm outside. Quite honestly, man, I'm exercising my rights. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to be sitting here burning, while dealing with you, because she's still been a headache. She still want time. She still want to, waste my time. You talk my ear off and do all this shit. But it's like, bitch, if you're not putting out, I don't have the energy for that, man. But that's really it on that. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shabbat Shem Kakadash, DTA Wababa Ball, Shalom.